All right, welcome to Into the Box. And today, my guest is former Blue Jacket Trevor Letowski. Trev, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Jode. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks. How's the family? How are you guys doing? Where are you at?
We're in Windsor. I'm coaching the Spitfires. I've been doing that for this is going to be our 6th season in Windsor. Yeah, we were at the lake house in Thunder Bay that we've always gone back to after hockey seasons when I was playing and now coaching, which is great thing about coaching is same schedule as being a player, so you still get those summers away. But yeah, right now we're in Windsor. I've got 2 girls in school. One's in JK, one's in grade 6, and all is good.
Now, Trev, you played a lot of your professional hockey, all of it really in North America, except for the end when you were done with the Blue Jackets. You ended up playing 2 more stops, ended in Carolina. Your stop here in Columbus was great. I know you still have some friends here, including the Shelleys. We're great friends of the Letowskis. But just talk a little bit about that time here in Columbus and how that was, where you were in your career, and then when you left here and where you ended up.
Yeah, I mean, we had a great time in Columbus. That was the longest deal that I signed as a pro. It was a 3-year deal. Unfortunately, the middle year was the lockout that we missed the whole season. So that was frustrating. I would say that was close to kind of the best hockey that I had played. It was kind of right in the prime of my career. I think I was 20, mid-20s, 25, 26, 27 when I played in Columbus. It was actually too, which was unique. It was the only time that I was a free agent. Sorry, I shouldn't say that because it happened twice, but it was the first time that I was hitting free agency before I signed in Columbus. I had come out of Vancouver, coming off. We had a pretty good team there in Vancouver for 2 years, and I did have some options. And I just remember Columbus. They had been in the league for a couple years, if I remember right. It certainly at the time wasn't like the number one destination to go to for a player. As NHL players, we didn't know much about the city, but it was a good opportunity. And with, Doug McLean was there. He was the coach at the time. Gerard was his assistant, who ended up coming on in my first season there, I believe. But it just seemed like it was a great opportunity for me. And there was a lot of unknowns for us, me and my wife, as far as the city went. But from what I remember, it was just such a pleasant surprise. I'm sure a lot of people say that, but I say that to people all the time when they ask me about Columbus. It's just a great place to live. And a lot of times NHL players, they kind of like, if you're a married guy, older guy, is it a good place to live for your kids? Or are you a younger guy kind of living downtown and you like to kind of get out a bit? I would say Columbus kind of at this point is checking both those boxes for the younger and older players. It's a great place to live if you have a family. And I think just from visiting you and kind of being current with the way the city's going with all the downtown development and all that stuff, I'm sure the younger players enjoy playing there too, as far as being away from the rink. So it's just, we have nothing but fond memories about Columbus and the organization with the Blue Jackets.
Trev, before I get to talk about your coaching, what you're doing now you've done it for over a decade. I looked that up. Wow, I can't believe you've been doing it that long, but it's a credit to your development of the young players. Can you tell us about Kazakhstan? Some of us will never go to Kazakhstan. Some of us will never go to Kazakhstan and play hockey. Well, most of us will never go to Kazakhstan and play hockey. But you did it for 2 years. You and your wife went over there and played in the KHL in Russia. How was that to end your career? And how did that set you up to do what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was the first year of the KHL. So, yeah, I played in Kazakhstan, but 21 of the 24 teams were in Russia. So that was a year where there was a few NHL players, with pretty established players that were going. Jaromir Jagr being the key guy that went and got paid a ton of money.
Name drop.
But yeah, so it was my last year. I played in Carolina, had a decent year, but I think I was turning 31. I was hopeful that I would get an NHL deal, but unfortunately, just with the cap and everything, they were kind of, a lot of guys get squeezed out that way where they'd rather pay the young player rather than the 31-year-old kind of role player. So yeah, time was kind of ticking, and there was just no NHL deals, a couple things, two-way deals in the American League. But at that point in my career, I wasn't too keen on doing it. And then, of course, with Russia just coming on and the opportunities that were there, I figured it was something that I wanted to try. So yeah, I put my name in the hat. It was actually, I'd waited till mid to late August, which is late to sign in Russia. But I put my name in the hat probably, let's say August 15th, and there was a contract 2 days later. So then I went. The city in Kazakhstan, yeah, like it was the capital city. It was Astana. It was probably different than what a lot of people would picture. It's ton of like oil money there, and so it's not Dubai, but there's a lot of new construction, and they're kind of trying to make it almost like a hub of that area of the world. So it wasn't a terrible place to live. But having said that, the KHL at the time, at least, and it was in infant stages, but when you come out of the National Hockey League for, the better part of 10 straight years, and as you know, Joe, the way that the players are treated, both at the rink and for your travel and for if your family has issues, the NHL it's just, you're supported in so many different ways. And in Russia, that's not the case. You're on your own for the most part, and the facilities are just not what you're used to. And the support system is just not there. And as far as like the accommodations, as far as the hotels you're staying in and things like that, it's challenging. And I mean, we could talk for hours about that experience. For me, it was very challenging. For the first time in my career that, I'll be honest, I didn't really love going to the rink. It was like punching the clock. I was always a player in North America, whether that was junior, the American League, or the NHL. The best part of playing was being around the teammates and, playing cards on the plane and being at the rink early, having a coffee or whatever. And those things, they weren't there in Russia. You basically came, you had to put work in for sure. The coaches were Russian, so it was hard to be a coachable player, which is kind of the way that I survived over in the NHL, just, running direct routes and being responsible. And over there wasn't, just the language barrier alone, it was hard to play with detail. So I had a tough time there too. I would say it's a better league than what people might give it credit for if they haven't been there before. They just an average fan. It's a good league, that's for sure. There's a lot of real good players. So I would say the league was harder than I probably would have thought it was going to be. But yeah, I mean, I got through it, and now I look back at those couple years as I learned a lot about myself. You appreciate being Canadian a lot more, like the average, just the way people live in Canada, or obviously grouped America with that, just a North American lifestyle compared to the way they live their lives. You certainly don't take that for granted anymore. And yeah, I look back at it with fond memories, and I did meet good people like you always do in this game. There's good people over there for sure. Some teammates that I still stay in touch with. So overall, it was good.
Well, great. I mean, what a unique experience. And yeah, looking back, I bet you probably shake your head sometimes and think, wow, but that's excellent. I want to get into coaching now, Trev. You're coaching in the Ontario Hockey League, which is the top amateur development program probably in the world, the CHL. The Windsor Spitfires are a very high-class organization. They've produced a number of NHL players. This is your 6th year there. What do you love about it? What is the greatest thing about coaching these young 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids?
Well, they're just so hungry, Joe, when they come through the doors. I mean, there's certainly a lot of unknowns for them because every player that we get has been the best player from whatever city they're coming from. We get a lot of our players from the Toronto area, which is just a hockey hotbed. They've been really good up until they come to us. And then it's kind of their first step into kind of the reality of the hockey world, where hockey now it's a full-time. I mean, they go to school and stuff, but it's full-time. It's not minor hockey anymore. So the coaching detail that they're getting, is just different than what they've ever had before. The input they're getting from us as far as video and they practice every day, they work out every day, and so it's all new to them. And for the most part, they get adversity for the first time in their hockey lives, because they've always been the best player. When they come into our league's 16 to 20-year-olds. These guys are very young at 16, playing against guys that are drafted to the National Hockey League kind of right on the doorstep of being an NHL player. And this kid is coming out of, minor midget hockey. It's a huge step for them. And they go from being a top player, a power play kind of top scorer from their team to being a role player, usually for their first year. So that's a huge adjustment for the player. And I think for me, from a coaching perspective, the best part of it is you get to see these kids when they just walk through the door and they look so young, and, they're 15 turning 16, and they look, honestly, as we get older, Joe, they look like they're 12, and then all of a sudden you see them grow up kind of before your eyes in those development years from when they're 16 to 17 to 18. It's crazy how much better they can get and how much they grow up. And some of them, a small percentage of them, make the National Hockey League, which is great. But I would say every player, you're really proud of what they're able to do. And we try to just make them as good as we possibly can, on the ice and off of it, so that when they leave here as 19, 20-year-olds, and if they're going to go to a Canadian university afterwards or go play some pro, in the American League, East Coast League, or in Europe, that they've had a great experience looking back at Windsor, and we helped in their development, both on and off the ice.
I want to touch on one family, and I think you still have the brother of Liam Foudy there in Windsor. Is it Jean-Luc Foudy?
Yeah, yes.
You have his brother, and we have Liam here in Columbus.
Yeah.
We love Liam Foudy. He's fast. He's a young kid who got an opportunity last year out of the Ontario Hockey League playing against you. Can you speak about those kids a little bit and what you see in Liam Foudy?
Yeah. So Liam Foudy, I mean, he's a player that he came in. He's a plays for the London Knights, just a great program in the Canadian Hockey League and in our league. They produce so many players. Dale Hunter and Mark Hunter run that program. So yeah, Liam kind of came in as a 16-year-old and had a pretty quiet year, which typically happens, and what I kind of talked about in my last answer. And then the following year, he played on a very good London Knights team and had, maybe 40, 45 points in 60 games. Doesn't blow your socks off or anything, but, the scouts see that he's playing on a good team and he's a young player in a pretty good league, and he gets drafted where he should have, which was a first-round player. From there, he continues to mature. He becomes one of the best players in our league, and therefore is picked to play on the World Junior team for Team Canada, which is the top players in our league get that opportunity. And now he's developed into, I watched the games in the playoffs as well, Joe. I thought he was very effective for you guys already, which sometimes surprises me because I see them again. I saw him as a young player, and it's just amazing how quickly they can get better. But, he was, I thought, contributing at that level already. And I think what jumps off the page with him, and then now I tie it in with his brother, Jean-Luc, that we have, who's 2 years younger, but the skating ability is off the charts. I mean, the game continues to evolve, and just to see these type of players that can skate the way they do, like, I don't know if it's exaggerating to say, I don't know if I've ever seen, when I was playing, a player skate like that, like Liam Foudy skates, or like our guy is the same. He's in the same mold. He's just younger, but their first step and the athleticism that they have is just so special, and the separation that they have. And so Jean-Luc, he's not as highly regarded as Liam. He was just drafted in the 3rd round, I think, by Colorado. I think they got good value. He played on a pretty good team here in Windsor this year where the minutes weren't free. There's some teams in the lower echelon that, in their draft year, they'll just play 24 minutes a night as a forward, and he's on the power play every night. But here in Windsor, we have good depth, and he had to earn everything he had. So his his numbers don't jump off the page, kind of like his brothers. Like, I think he had 50 points this year, which is a good season, but not like amazing statistically. But he's a player that we think is going to take a huge step next year, probably put up 70 to 80 points, and he'll be on his way again to being knocking on the door for the World Junior team, and then probably being an NHL player eventually. So that's, yeah, it's fun to watch those players and to kind of see the development, not just with the Windsor Spitfire players, but with the players around the league. And I've had an opportunity to be a part of Hockey Canada's program and see those top players and just see how they can the following year just step right in as regular NHL players. And that's pretty fun to watch that.
Are you surprised at some of the trajectory of some of the players you see at 17, 18 years old? I mean, what I'm saying is, well, Josh Anderson was a player that was with the Blue Jackets. He wasn't very big until he had a growth spurt. Yeah. There's players that develop a little bit later and change in their roles. That must be something that fascinates you, because these are different people from when they walk in the door to when they are on TV or knocking on that door to be in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why I still like how a player will translate. I think I'm getting better at that, but it's still like, they're still, for the most part, so far away from being an NHL player when they're drafted, and as you know, like, it's just the beginning, and they have to get so much better for them to be able to play in the NHL. And those top guys, like the first rounders, yeah, there's something special there that they can kind of speed it up. But it's the third and the fourth, the fifth rounders that it's like, an NHL scout, which we talk to these guys all the time, and they well, where does he translate? Where do you see him? And it's like, I'm not sure yet. Let's see how he does next year. Can he get stronger? Is he going to get bigger? Is he going to be committed to the work? Is he going to get complacent and then stall the development, and then he just will never play, which we all know is maybe the most important intangible, is the fact that the relentless work it takes to play at that level. So there's just so many factors that come in. I had a player just come through, Misha Sergachev, who was in Tampa. He won the Stanley Cup, but when he stepped into our program, I thought he was probably 4 or 5 years away. And all of a sudden, in 3 years, he's a key player on a Stanley Cup winning team. And it's just a credit to the kid first and foremost, but also to the Tampa Bay Lightning and the way that they helped develop him. And partially his time in Windsor, that he played on a good team and he won a Memorial Cup. And it's all kind of just pieces of the pie, but it's all contributing to that player getting the NHL a little bit quicker than maybe some others, and actually not just playing, but being a key contributor at a young age.
Trev, I could talk to you about these topics for weeks, and you know that whenever we get together, we get to have these great conversations. But I'm going to end on one question. It's because, to have a coach who's coaching at your level, who's played in the National Hockey League, you worked your way up. Nothing was given to you to play or coach and do what you're doing now. It's a lot of credit to what you're doing and how you did it. I talked to Kevin Dineen, and one of the things he mentioned was, I always was impressed with how he treated people. And I'm coaching 12-year-old kids. I love it. We're having fun. But I look in these kids' eyes, and you mentioned a keyword, intangible. So hard work is one thing, and people work hard, but some people will separate themselves in that. But how much, when you see these young kids walk in, the intangible of maybe it's how you treat people, how you respect people, is there a lesson or something you go back to that you really try to instill in your kids, and the message you would send to some of these young kids who are playing minor hockey right now all over the world?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jody. I think that for us here, the approach is, and I think that most NHL players, if not all NHL players, have it, and it's just the mindset, and it's a little cliche, but the process of just coming every day and finding a way to just have a good day at the rink, and that's a little bit of culture in there as well, and treating people the right way. Of course, you want players in the right mindset where they're coming in and they're not dreading getting on the ice and oh, here we go. We got to go and skate another hour and a half. And if we lost, he might yell at me or something like that. That is so old school. I'm sure Dino probably touched on that a little bit, but there's none of that. It's almost like they're coming to hockey school when they come here to junior. And I'm sure even with your 12-year-olds, it's just like, come on in, let's do this together. Let's have some fun and let's try to get better and let's challenge each other. When you get up to our level, maybe opposed to a 12-year-old, like, yeah, you got to work and you have to compete. And you can't just be content with doing that for the day. You have to put that away. And then the next day when you come back, you got to do it again. And whether that's a practice or if that's a game day, it's kind of the same. And whether it's a win or whether it's a loss after the game, it's the same again. It's not dwelling on what happened yesterday or anything like that, but it's just, here we go again. Be a good teammate, bring the work, challenge each other to work. Like, you all say you work hard. Well, who's the hardest worker on the team? And just having little challenges and competitions and again, like, treating people the right way is so important, especially in today's game. You can't be hard on a player and communicate. You can't just take them out of the lineup and think that they're going to be okay with that. You have to explain reasoning. And that's what I think coaches, it's a lot harder to coach now than it was when we were playing, Joe, because you would know, and so do I, that if you got healthy scratched one night, you're not.
Don't ask.
Yeah, don't ask. He's not telling you why. You might not talk to the coach for the next 5 days. You got to kind of eat it and you got to keep working. But nowadays we have to explain our decisions, and that's kind of part of our culture, that they're welcome and they come in and they'll ask us why, and we have to be prepared and have an answer of why he's out of the lineup, or why he's moved down the lineup, or why he's off the power play. So, and with all the analytics in the game and all the video and resources that we have access to it. It takes some work, but you have to be prepared to show the player why, and not only why, but kind of how he can get back into it.
Right.
So it's that's a big part of the coaching is kind of having those discussions with players, and just, there's so much about X's and O's and stuff like that, and structure. And I would say at high levels of coaching, most coaches have that. And I think the X factor in coaching is just the relationship building and how that player feels when he's at the rink every day. And I think that's how you get the most out of your players and out of your team, is if guys truly enjoy being around the rink. And if they don't, then you're in trouble.
Well, that's all great stuff, man. It is so fascinating to talk to you at all those subjects. I appreciate your time to take out of your day here to spend with me in the box. It's probably the longest you've been in the box, but well done. We sure do appreciate it. It's great seeing you, Trev. All the best to you and your family, and thanks for taking the time.
All right, Joe. Anytime. Thanks, man.